Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, feeling fantastic. It is Friday after all, so I imagine most of us are feeling pretty good. I know I am. Me and my family are actually heading up to Carowinds, which, if you don't know what Carowinds is, it's an amusement park here in the Carolinas, just south of Charlotte, North Carolina. So definitely asking for safe travels as we travel up 77 from Columbia, just for safe travels, and then asking for prayers that the park isn't jam-packed so we can fully experience the best out of today. Definitely would appreciate that. But we do have some weather to talk about. I think we're going to get widespread showers and storms today, and a lot of them have a chance to be strong to severe. In fact, we have some active weather ongoing right now. But outside of that, we do have a flooding risk for multiple areas. One, including an area where we do not need the rain, which is areas of New England. And then areas have a risk of flooding that saw flooding yesterday in the Deep South. Mississippi saw some flooding rains in areas of the state yesterday. Saw some video out that region where there was a lot of overrunning of water. So one of the big topics in this video, we'll be discussing what happens in the the south central U.S. today. Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, maybe Missouri. Definitely could see a nasty line of storms that gets developed a little bit later this afternoon to this evening into the overnight hours. We'll break that down in detail, talk about everybody else too, how hot it could potentially get today. Very hot day for a lot of portions of the country. And we'll get you guys on your way. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I really appreciate people understanding not making a video as much in the evening. I'm not cutting off the videos in the evenings, if anybody is wondering, which nobody's really asked, honestly. But I just want to reiterate this, that the evening videos aren't going away. I'm just taking a break. It's summertime. Things typically slow down. But I want to say this again. Thank y'all so much. The channel has not really slowed down. And in fact, the views have been outstanding. Yesterday morning's video hit 10,000 views. I mean, we're in the middle of July. Typically, I'll put it this way. If you were not subscribed to my channel last summer, my views averaged on all my videos basically between late May all the way through July and early August, about 1,000 to 1,500 views. So that tells you how much the channel has grown, and that's all because of you guys. So thank y'all for giving me this platform once again. So if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can do that. I can pray over it, and we all can look out for one another and pray for one another. So let's get rolling here. Let's take a look at water vapor loop. We take a look at what's going on here. I just heard my dog barking, so if you hear any dog barking in the background, well, we just live in a neighborhood, and it just happens. Or any of the kids screaming in the background, you guys know how that is. But anyways, we take a look at water vapor loop. We got a couple areas. Obviously, if you are not familiar with looking at this with me, the whiter colors on your screen indicate more moisture in the atmosphere, which typically indicates moisture is actually falling in the form of rain, showers, and storms, sometimes snow. But obviously, we're in July, no snow out here. So we got this big area of storms kind of riding through Arkansas right now that's moved out of Oklahoma, but we also have another area in Oklahoma that's kind of looking like it might be fizzling out, but we'll actually look at the radar here in a second. And then we got an area up here in southern South Dakota, northern Nebraska, and then we got a lot of juiced up moisture in the atmosphere along the extreme eastern U.S., like the I-95 corridor. So waking up very humid conditions. We actually have had some flash flood warnings in and around the Raleigh area. Not sure if they've expired since then, but definitely a lot of moisture surging all the way up the I-95 corridor into this region. So we'll take a look at radar. This will probably glitch up on us here in a second, as it always does. Okay, we're good now. So these are flash flood warnings. This has been the big story this week, is flooding. A lot of slow-moving storms. The flow aloft has not been that fast, so a lot of these showers and storms have just been very slow movers. And that's been the case in extreme eastern Oklahoma and then western Arkansas. A lot of rain has been falling and continues to fall. Just more so widespread light to moderate, at times heavy rain in Arkansas this morning. We'll see what happens as this drifts in general kind of southeastward. Dealing with a lot of rains down here in the Panhandle of Florida this morning. In fact, you got flash flood warnings right here in this portion of the Panhandle. You bring it over here to this region, flash flood warnings been ongoing in and around the Raleigh area, points south and southwest. This area of storms, which is not severe warned, is trailing off and heading into the eastern portion of the state. Got some pop-up downpours in eastern Kentucky, West Virginia. You go up here, you got another area. And this is the area we watch. Does this really get going later today and you get a nasty line of storms down here into Kansas and Oklahoma, and then maybe areas of Missouri later today? It is possible. Well, you will get big time surface heating into Kansas today ahead of these storms. And then we do have some severe warned storms. Let's see, this expires in 8 minutes. But a severe warned storm is surging through northern New Jersey. You're waking up to some rumbles of thunder, some active conditions this morning in New York City, some rain in Long Island, and still some rain out here in southeast Mass. So that's what's going on right now. So it's pretty active out there right now. So at the Storm Prediction Center, a marginal risk up from basically northern North Carolina all the way up to New England. But it's kind of hugging the coast, so this is not going to be a big threat for like the areas that were a big threat yesterday. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there was any confirmed tornadoes in the interior Northeast. I know there was definitely confirmed tornadoes up in Canada, like Ontario, Quebec, I believe. I mean, there was videos of them, and they looked like something you would see out in the Midwest or the middle of the country, Tornado Alley. So it was pretty wild to see there, but not expecting a big tornado threat today at all, really anywhere. But you do have the marginal risk for severe weather, level 1 out of 5 risk. Slight risk right here in the middle of the country, Kansas, northern Oklahoma, portions of the panhandle of Texas, portions of Missouri, and extreme northwest Arkansas. What we will watch for in this region today is not really the tornado threat. You have a less than a 2% risk. You don't have a 0% risk. It's just less than 2% risk, so it doesn't show up on this graphic. But the wind threat, not only do you have that 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher, you have the 10% risk of significant winds in the black outline region, which is what we call a hatched risk, which means you have a risk of winds exceeding 65 knots or higher, which is hurricane force winds and mile per hour readings around 75 miles per hour or higher. So this is a big deal today. Today, if we do upgrade to an enhanced risk, it would be right here for wind. They will bump it up from a 15 to a 30% risk. So if you're watching this and this is 1 or 2, 3 hours after I make this video, you're thinking, well, this is old information. There's an enhanced risk in this area. Chances are I do know. It's just I make these videos early in the morning, and the Storm Prediction Center does an upgrade. Does an update, and they potentially do upgrade about, I would say, 8:45 to 9:15 every morning, which is about, an hour after I drop these videos. So if you're ever wondering about that. Hail threat, 15% risk of hail in this region right here in the middle of the country. That's a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. The flooding risk today, you do have the flooding risk right here through the southern Mississippi Valley, but it stretches from eastern Oklahoma all the way down to the panhandle of Florida. And so we'll watch for flooding in this region. Flooding is possible in areas of Virginia and North Carolina, and then up here in southern New England where you have a moderate risk of that. The yellow is at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded. The red, same criteria, but it's a 40% risk of that. Okay, so almost a 50-50 chance to see flooding within 25 miles in any given location, and that is up for portions of like the Adirondacks, the Catskills, even the Poconos, the Berkshire, some higher elevation in this red area. So please be aware of flooding in this region today. And that's why you do have flood watches up for areas of southern New York State, all of Connecticut, all of Rhode Island, most of Mass, and then southern counties of New Hampshire. You got flood watches up for southeast VA too. I think high humidity, big time precipitation values in this region. So basically what I'm trying to say is along the I-95 corridor up the East Coast, the atmosphere is loaded with moisture. So even just a downpour that's not a strong storm that forms, it could dump a half an inch of rain on you in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, which could cause flooding. I know you're thinking a half an inch ain't a lot, but measured in rain, that is a lot. And snow, that's probably a few inches of snow, potentially, depending on how cold it's snowing at. But you can tell I'm starting to get excited about winter weather. Heat advisories up for the south central U.S., all of Louisiana, most of Mississippi, several counties in Alabama, all of southern Arkansas, right through the heart of Oklahoma. But there's a big cutoff right in Kansas. And Kansas will get big time heating today, but this line of storms will surge south and then cut your temperatures almost in half. But excessive heat warnings for several counties in Texas, and it is very hot out west. Excessive heat warnings for, I mean, a large chunk of a very large state of California, all of southern Arizona, extreme heat in this region, well over 110-degree air temperatures out here. In certain areas will certainly try to get to 120 degrees today, probably in the desert, like Death Valley, things like that. So we do have subtropical storm Don now. There's not much to talk on Don, but, you know, if you're a big tropical weather junkie, and I am, I just, you know, I don't, there's a lot of channels out there to just specify on talking on the tropics. I don't do that. I talk about all of it. But I'm sure if you're just really, you know, wanting to nerd out on the tropics, I understand. I mean, I feel you, I do too. I'm sure there's some great channels that really are getting much more detailed on this. But we do have subtropical storm Don. If you're asking, Mitch, why is it a subtropical storm? It's because it lacks true tropical characteristics. And that's because it has a lot of dry air getting wrapped into it. But it is a 50-mile-per-hour storm. It's going to head north and then likely bend and turn back south. I think that this storm will be with us for quite some time, probably over the next at least 7 days. I think it gets trapped with some atmospheric currents, some blocking, and it just kind of spins around out here and just irritates the fishes and the sharks and whales, and just kind of spins around. So if you want to know what this looks like, you can actually see what's going on very well. You see this darker black color? That is dry air getting wrapped up into it. So when you have a lot of dry air wrapped into these situations, typically it's non-tropical characteristics. This is kind of what happened with Hurricane Ian when it hit the South Carolina coastline last year. A lot of dry air got wrapped into it, and we call them half-a-canes because a lot of times, well, in this case, it's not a hurricane, but a lot of times, all the weather is lopsided. It's on one side of the storm because dry air is basically killing all the moisture on one side of the storm. So if we were able to look at radar at subtropical storm Don, then that's what it would look like. All the moisture would probably be on the east side of this system. So that's what's going on out there in the tropics. The southeast today. So widespread, scattered, potentially strong to severe storms are possible. Typical Florida kind of behavior, pop-up showers and storms really anywhere in Florida today. And some of these could, you know, drop a lot of rain, but typical Florida kind of stuff. If I'm mixing up my words, guys, it's because I had to restart this video about 10-15 times. And the more that I have to restart the video, the more I mess up my words as I get deeper into the video. For you guys that don't know, it's not perfect science with starting these videos. Sometimes I have to start over multiple times. Sometimes I'm just 30 seconds into it. Sometimes I'm 2 to 3 minutes into it. And it just depends on how I feel like my flow is. If I'm mixing up my words, I do apologize. You know, the presentation's not going to be perfect every single time. And I don't edit any of this. So it's all raw. So I apologize if I'm mushing some words up together. But anyways, let's get back to this. I think we're going to get the rejuvenation of more showers and storms here in central to eastern North Carolina today up to Delmarva. And then we're going to watch these areas over here that surge south. And I think northern Mississippi later this evening could get some strong, potential some severe storms. You do have a marginal risk in this region, but these storms will have a chance to produce some gusty winds, some all hail, and then a lot of rainfall. So let's zoom into each individual region. Let's look at the deep south first. And we'll go through here in time. This is the HRRR model. We get to about 1 or 2 p.m. Not a whole lot's going on. I think we're going to still just be dealing with these pop-up downpours along the Gulf Coast line. But then a more organized area of storms could get going. This isn't perfect. This is just the HRRR model. But, you know, the Boot Hill, Missouri, extreme northeast Arkansas, all the way down through Memphis. It could get stormy around 4 to 5, 6 p.m. this afternoon. These will move through. These could be strong to severe. These could produce flooding. Some of these areas have already picked up a lot of rain, and these will fly through, I would say, the northern half of Mississippi into western areas of Tennessee, the Boot Hill, Missouri, northeast Arkansas, and then they'll probably lose some steam into the overnight hours. And then I would say the next thing you watch out for is overnight tonight is a line of storms that surges through northern Arkansas and might make it all the way into western Tennessee, Memphis, northern Mississippi as we're waking up tomorrow. Rainfall for all this, it looks like it follows the HRRR model pretty well. Heavy rain will continue to fall. I'm surprised there's not, there might be. I don't forgot. No, there is. You do have a slight risk for excessive rainfall down here, so 2 to 3 inches of rain could fall, even outside of what's already fell. But you see this little corridor right into here, but through northern Mississippi, then southwest Alabama, even western Tennessee up to northeast Arkansas, anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch, inch and a half of rain is possible. A lot of rain can continue to fall in this region, so be aware of the flooding risk. The Carolinas, Virginia, Georgia, I think it could get quite active in this region. We'll take it all the way out to about 2 to 4 p.m. Scattered storms are developing. There is a marginal risk in this region, so some of these will be strong to severe. You will get some severe thunderstorm warnings in the Piedmont, the Triad of North Carolina today. I can almost guarantee it. And then these will pop up. It's very hot, very humid before they form, so there's going to be a lot of juice in the atmosphere. The biggest threat with these, just some gusty winds, strong winds, maybe some microburst, which I don't know if you guys have ever been under or experienced a microburst. It looks like an all-out hurricane for about a 1 to 2 minute period, if that. So, but they can cause a lot of damage, a lot of tree damage. But these fly through, and then they organize, and they kind of move west to east, so they head towards the Atlantic Ocean. And so I think we're going to have probably a stormy evening, I think, in eastern North Carolina. You're waking up to some stormy conditions this morning. I think you'll mellow down for the evening with some more stormy conditions this evening. These will fly through. You cannot rule out some storms down here in South Carolina. I think Georgia will be pretty calm today, but you're probably still going to get some pop-up showers and storms. And then we'll watch, as we get into tomorrow, maybe some storms enter the picture here. But some big storms are possible in Virginia later today. They will fly through the region also. Rainfall, anywhere from the PD of South Carolina up through North Carolina, through southern and southeast Virginia, 1 to 2, maybe as much as 3 inches of rain. These storms can, for example, right, we had a pretty low chance of storms yesterday in Columbia, South Carolina, right? We had a storm that popped up right over Columbia. It dropped just over an inch of rain in 10 minutes on a National Weather Service certified rain gauge in Columbia. So you get an inch of rain in 10 minutes, I mean, that can cause flooding anywhere. So just be careful. There will be some definite tropical in nature downpours out there today across the I-95 corridor and just the immediate eastern U.S. Up here in the U.S., same kind of deal. I mean, you could get some showers and storms that gets going as early as this morning. In fact, they're already ongoing. In fact, the HRRR model is not picking up on this area of storms in northern New Jersey heading into southern New York State at all, really. Just shows it as some showers. So we'll watch. And then I think as we get into about probably 2 to 4 p.m., widespread showers and storms. Not everybody will get rain. Some people might not get a drop of rain. But, if you live from like Raleigh up through Richmond, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, up to Boston, all the way up to central Vermont, New Hampshire, all the way up to Maine, you guys have a pretty solid equal chance to see some strong storms today. I would say they're more widespread. Delmarva area is probably going to get hit pretty good. New York City could get quite active again this evening. But, I mean, they're very widespread up here in Vermont and New Hampshire, things like that. So let's go on and zoom into each individual region. We'll talk about the Mid-Atlantic first. And bang, I mean, this is around 2 to 3 p.m. You have some big-time downpours in the coastal regions of Maryland, probably southern Delaware, Norfolk. You guys are experiencing some big storms later this afternoon to this evening. But at the same time, you look back west, Pittsburgh, maybe some downpours, eastern sections, the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, some downpours are possible. Western Maryland, some storms are possible. But I would say that they become more widespread in coverage the further east you work. And you stop it here, it's around 5, 6 p.m. The big corridor, bigger cities right in here. These storms could very well be over this region. This is just one run of the long-range HRRR model. It's not exact science, but I would imagine it's probably going to be a pretty stormy rush hour along this region today. But where this model shows exactly where these storms are might not be exactly where they are. So just be aware of that. That's why there's a marginal risk up in this entire region. But HRRR model does like a very stormy rush hour evening time frame in New York City, Long Island region for sure. And then these clear out and move through the region. Big threat with these today, very heavy rain, damaging winds, and then some small hail are possible. Tornado risk is very, very low with this today, but not non-existent. Remember that. Rainfall from this, we already talked about Virginia, North Carolina, but you look up through the Delmarva, anywhere from a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch. You get up near New York City, maybe half-inch to an inch of rain. And then we get up to southern New England where more rain can fall. Let's go on and talk about southern New England, these regions. I think we could get some big storms up in this region today. As early as 2 to 3 p.m., you got a big storm showing up in southern New Hampshire, southern Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, some very stormy conditions around. Exactly who's going to get hit, that's always impossible. But I would say if you live in this entire region right here, you got a solid chance of some storms today. Some big-time summer storms can get going. I don't think it's going to be a comparable to yesterday, so don't worry. But, some gusty winds, very heavy rain. And then that hail threat is there, tornado threat. Like I said, not zero. It never is, but it's very low. But, you get to 5, 6, 7 p.m. I mean, you get another round of storms that comes out from the north-southwest and moves northeast, rides through southern New England. So definitely be aware of this. These will be typical summer kind of storms up here. And guys, they can drop a lot of rainfall. You look at rainfall between now and the next 24 hours, 1 to 2 inches of rain. It's widespread across southern New England, southern Vermont, New Hampshire, areas of the southern sections of New York State, all of Mass, Rhode Island, widespread 1-inch rainfall totals. Just a lot of rain could fall. This is why you got that moderate risk of rain up here. You look at the south central U.S., pretty quiet for a lot of people. It's really just watching this cluster of storms. This really gets organized around 3 to 4 p.m. in southern Nebraska and northern Kansas. And then watch as this thing really organizes. Now, I don't want to ignore all this scattered convection right here in southern sections of Missouri. There could be very stormy, late afternoon, early evening in southern Missouri, drifting all the way into what we've already talked about, which is western Tennessee, northeast Arkansas. But really, it's this area of storms that could bring a lot of rain and some very strong winds that surges through this region. I would say it really cranks up late afternoon, evening time frame and lasts into the late evening, and then it gets into Arkansas. So let's zoom into these individual regions. We'll start off this morning, and here it comes. I want to note, it's going to get very hot in Kansas before these storms. Some areas will get into the upper 90s, low 100s in Kansas. So these storms really get going, starting to move through the region. I would say if you're in northern areas of Kansas, mid to late afternoon, these storms move through. Large hail, damaging winds, really pushes through. I think this will be outflow boundary driven. I want to tell you guys, these storms could be more so over here. They could be more so over here. That's why you got the slight risk that extends all the way back into the panhandle of Oklahoma. But this one particular model doesn't really show anything. So it could be further east or further west. But this is what the latest long-range HRRR model shows. But these start moving in, heads up Topeka, Kansas, Manhattan, Kansas, Salina, Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas City. I would say these areas are under the gun between, I would say 5 to 8 p.m. These are moving through. These are potentially producing hurricane force winds. Okay, they're surging through. This is around 7 p.m. Central Time. If you're confused about the time frame, this is in Eastern Time, so back it up 1 hour. And this is surging through the states, 8, 9 p.m. And then, heck, by the time you get, 10 p.m., I think for most of Kansas, it'll be done. It'll be working through. But, I would say Kansas City, I say this is really could be a high impact event around between, let's say, 6 to 9 p.m. That is the time to really watch in Kansas City. And then, but I'd say the higher chances if you work your way a little bit further down Interstate 35, even Wichita, same kind of time frame. But basically, I would say if you're from Hutchinson, Kansas, all the way to Kansas City, I think these storms could be the most significant. But we'll see. This could tweak some for sure. Hear my kids in the background. They're getting ready. We're about to head to Carowinds, like I mentioned. So if you hear them, I got kids, man. So we keep rolling here. We look at Arkansas and then southern Missouri, areas of Oklahoma, even Mississippi. And we've already talked about this convection right here that could get going later this afternoon to this evening. This could be severe. I mean, you could get some large hail and some of these storms trailing off ahead of this main line of storms. So we can't ignore these little clusters of storms right here surging through southern Oklahoma. Like I said, the Boot Hill, Missouri, I try not to repeat information, but I do it all the time. Northeast Arkansas, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee. 7, 8, 9 p.m., we could have clusters of storms ahead of this main line that we're watching. This begins to surge through and really begins to enter and blast through southern Missouri, I would say late evening. and then gets into Arkansas overnight. And I think it'll lose some steam as it gets into Arkansas. But, you know, some storms are possible in Tulsa, Oklahoma City to the wee hours of the morning tonight. Winds from this is the wind gust swath. So this kind of takes it through the entire life cycle of the storm. But this is concerning. I mean, especially pretty much all of, you can say central, but especially eastern Kansas. I mean, that area in white and pink, that is 80 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts. Now, I always say this, the HRRR model always overdoes this, but somebody will get an intense portion of the storm more than likely, and you will get some hurricane force winds, which is technically 74 miles per hour or higher. So be careful in these regions. Even down into northeast Oklahoma, there's going to be some significant winds with this. And that's why I think they might upgrade this to an enhanced risk later updates. You go down here into Arkansas, I know you see these weird gaps in between, but ignore that. It just goes in 1 hour intervals. But some gusty winds could make its way certainly into northeast Oklahoma later this evening, southwest Missouri, and then northern Arkansas later tonight. We get some 30, 40, maybe as much as 50 mile per hour wind gusts with this line of storms that sweep through. So please be careful in this region. The north central U.S., very scattered action ongoing. Could get a strong storm or two in northern and northeast Iowa. It's very possible. This could drift eventually into southern Wisconsin, northern areas of Illinois. Nothing like we saw a couple days ago with the tornadoes in that region. And then very scattered areas. I mean, I can mention about 1 million different locations. Southern Minnesota could get some scattered downpours this evening. Central Wisconsin, some scattered downpours are possible in the UP of Michigan. Michigan could get active a little bit later today where you do have that marginal risk. And there is a marginal risk that surges through Illinois. So some of these will pack a punch. Some of these could be severe. Could get a strong to severe storm later on this evening in Arkansas. I'm saying Arkansas. That's so random. There I go. My wife picks on me all the time because I'll try to say a word and it just comes out as the total opposite. But in Chicago, northern Illinois, and then some of these could be strong down here in western Illinois, Springfield, Peoria. You know, you guys watch out later this evening. Some strong storms could work its way through into this region for sure. And we kind of zoom into this region, and here they come. Big storms possible. Watch out, northern Illinois. This could look totally different. It's just one run of a short-range model. I wish I had the time to kind of go through all these regions, but I don't. All these models, but you know, you get into 7, 8 p.m. Some strong storms are possible to work through these smaller towns and communities, cities in western Illinois. And we definitely could get some strong to severe storms. It could be very isolated in Michigan today, but I think as we work into the wee hours of the morning, we're probably going to get some more just widespread rains in Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky. Could get some storms later tonight. And, you know, I think you're waking up to a lot of rain tomorrow in areas of the Ohio Valley and the Midwest, as you can tell. I think we'll wake up to some widespread heavy rain, things like that. Michigan, like I said, you know, stronger storm or two is possible later today. I think it'll be very isolated, as you can tell. One down here, you know, there could be some up here in the eastern UP and Michigan. They'll be very isolated in nature, but some of these storms will have enough ingredients to pack a punch up here. So please be aware of this. Not a big deal, though. Western U.S., very quiet day. Very quiet. You know, you can get some downpours down here in southeast Arizona, the southern half of New Mexico. Very possible. And we'll see what happens. Maybe another area of storms could get going in western Nebraska and northeast areas of Colorado later today. And some showers, downpours are possible. Extreme northern Montana. Pretty quiet day today, though, out here. It's just the heat. The heat's brutal. It'll get very hot ahead of any storm development along the I-94 corridor. Not only hot, but very humid. The heat indices will be well over 100 pretty far north. Very hot and just very uncomfortable weather. We're probably going to sweat our butts off today. But right here in the middle of the country, I think it'll rise well into the upper 90s, low 100s into Kansas ahead of these storms. You see how it goes from 70 to 101 degrees in about a 2-hour geographical stretch here in Kansas. That's what I'm saying. It's a big time heating in Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma before these storms, and then they'll move through and then obviously cool the temperatures down. Typical summer kind of stuff up here in the northern U.S., 80s, even some 70s, and then blistering hot in the southwest. Well over 110 degrees in a lot of areas, and even warm all the way up into the northwest, and just summer warmth across everywhere else. But it'll be very hot in the desert southwest. Look at these readings. You know, see this kind of greenish turquoise looking at color. That's Death Valley, where it'll reach, you know, well over 120, probably 125 degrees. I probably maybe not that hot, but it'll be pretty hot. Okay, into these regions, very hot conditions in the desert Southwest, California, Arizona, things like that, Nevada. So you guys know about the heat out here. Please be prepared. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have yourselves an awesome Friday.